Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, all bets are off, baby. Forget what you think you know. Forget what you think you saw. All bets are off. The Acolyte, episode 5. Oh, boy, howdy. And I think very apt this week. Reduced numbers. We've culled. We've got some of the excess. We've got some of the rid of the red shirts. They've taken a lightsaber to the guts, and we've got rid of that excess weight. We've just got the A team here. I was going to say we've just got Yord and Jackie here, but let's just get him in here. Andy Bell, hello, how you going, mate? Just cooking in your little wooden box over there.
It was Agatha all along. Hello, mate. Yes, it's getting a bit warm in the UK, which is, as you know, quite unnatural for us Brits. So, feeling a little hot under the collar at the moment. Not just for the weather, but obviously the amazing content that we saw today.
Absolutely. And R.I.P. Catherine Daphne Kneen. Let's pour one out. Nice to see you.
Yeah, put your steamers out for Yord. Yord Horde's in mourning. It's too much. It's too much.
It's too much. I mean, wow. Yeah. Obviously everybody who's seen this is listening has seen the show. So we're going to, again, as we always do, we jump all over the place. Just a little bit of technical background. The last 2 episodes, I have had some issues with my microphone. You probably heard it was crackling and it was popping and doing all sorts of stuff. And it turned out to be a software issue, which I think I've got resolved at the moment. But in trying to fix that, I basically managed to snap the connector that connects my microphone to my arm, which I have super glued on at the moment. So there could be a hilarious moment during this podcast where my microphone falls off and falls into my lap or hits me in the groin. And it might just happen. So just keep an ear out for that, or maybe it'll just stay here. But all right, Catherine, what was this episode called?
Night.
It was a pretty safe bet that we were going to get that.
I don't think we bet, but in retrospect, yes. You know, seeing as we had day, it's usually followed by night. Yes. Yeah,
the Night of 1,000 Tears. That's the new Night of 1,000 Tears. Short one, Andy, though. What's going on, mate? They're getting shorter and shorter. Shorter, more intense.
They are. But again, I wish Mole was here to keep me straight on how long it was. Was it 28 minutes? Something like that?
Probably with credits. Because,
with credits?
Well, no, without, sorry. Because it was 34 listed on the
30 at
menu
most.
Thingy.
30 at most.
Yeah.
But again, because of the new schedule, I literally get to see it an hour or so before we record. So I don't get to. I come over with a heck of a lot of anxiety because I need to get it. I need to watch it before we record.
You don't want to make Josh mad.
Really he's a bad man. He's a bad man. No. So it's kind of like I don't really notice it, and I must admit, especially this week, there was so much going on that was blowing my brain that, quite frankly, I didn't know it was, or didn't realize it was as short as it was. But with hindsight, I guess it was. But good God, they squeezed a lot into, let's say, half an hour.
Yeah, I just watched it the second time just before we recorded. I'd sort of at lunch today, and then Kat wanted to watch it, and I had time to watch it today. And so we actually caught up on she was 2 episodes behind last week, and she was like, "Oh, what's going on in the Acolyte? I've got to catch up with the Acolyte." And so we watched the last 2 episodes last week, and it was quite interesting because we watched the sort of the one, The Witch's Coven, and she goes, "I don't get it. Like, how can they all be dead?" And I'm like, well, that's the question, isn't it, right there? So she watched that and then rolled into episode 4, and then she got to watch episode 5. So she was the first thing she said, she was like, "Are all the Yord people upset?" And I said, yeah, I think the Yord Horde is a little upset at the moment. But so it was just fresh in my brain as well. And I know, Catherine, you just polished it off before we got on as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so Wednesdays after work, I get home and there's a few like chores to do, like put the bins out and all that sort of stuff, and dinner, and then whatever television watching I want to do. So it sort of depends on how well stuff goes. Stuff went well, so I could start it fairly early. So I managed to get 2 watches in before record tonight. Also, again, because it was short. That first week with the 3-episode drop, I did text Josh during the day saying, look, no spoilers, but how long are they?
How much time am I going to have to commit here to this thing? Yeah. So how did you, like, obviously, I watched it sort of at lunchtime as soon as I could, and it was pretty shocking, and, a lot of stuff, we'll get into it, but, a lot of stuff happened in the episode, and I was just like, whoa, and I was sort of sitting with it. I was thinking all afternoon, but, like, in your case, Catherine, was it shocking to watch it, and then you went back and just sort of tried to look even closer at what was going on the second time around?
Yeah, try to look a bit closer, appreciate some stuff that maybe I missed, and I never pick up on music cues, so they're beyond me. But trying to see a bit more, because obviously with the lightsaber dueling, they're going pretty quick. Just trying to pick up on stuff and trying to pick up on thoughts that I had, in the first watch, seeing if a second watch sort of confirmed some of them, type of thing. But yeah, and I don't put subtitles on. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't do a turbo, do that. So yeah, it's good, but it's hard during the day. Like, for once, I'm quite happy that I've got that it comes out here about 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And then after that, I've got classes for the rest of the day. So I'm well distracted from the socials, but it is a bit...
They did not hold back. There was no chill at all. And I think, you can always sort of try to tell people to have chill, but I think you've just got to accept that there is no chill. And I saw one or two people like going, "Hey, what's going on, Star Wars Twitter? I haven't watched the Acolyte yet, but I'm just going to let Chumless, like, what are you even doing here, dude? Like, you've just got to, like, it's just, I mean, something like House of the Dragon, which I am interested, like, I like, but I'm not sort of committed. Like, I won't stay off Twitter for that. And if somebody sort of drops something, I'm like, oh, whatever. But something like Star Wars, and especially like the week like this, it was like, I mean, speaking on the lightsabers, I mean, Andy, they were talking, before this thing, there was a little bit of people going, oh, well, they thought that, how dare you even suggest that you could take this lightsaber thing to the next level, or try to top Phantom Menace, or try to, but geez, they bloody tried.
They gave it a good go, didn't they? And I would argue that's the most exciting saber fight I've seen in many years. I wouldn't want to say it's the best thing I've ever seen, because obviously it's fresh in my mind at the moment. But phenomenal. And again, as always, being the Nedley that I am, I've written a few notes for myself, just to remind myself what happened. And it's just the furiosity of that fight was insane. And it reminded me of almost this delicate balance between the aerobics of Maul, which again, he was furious, but his lightsaber combat was very, very balletic. Does that make sense? Very, very, very balletic in the way that, and then the almost visceral fighting, stabby rather than choppy fighting of Sidious, of Palpatine.
Yep.
I thought it was exceptional, absolutely exceptional, and it just came over absolutely brutal. Animalistic is the word I want to use today.
Really,
that's my word for
really
today.
wanted to. They really wanted to go for the kill. We don't have a name for Darth Teeth yet, but we'll just call him Darth Teeth. I mean, we know who's behind the mask now, and we'll get to that, but. And I suppose when you're outnumbered that much, it was every blow was a kill, but they were very imaginative with the kills. A friend of the show, Matt Frost, sent me a little message saying that it was his favourite episode so far. He'd been middling on it so far, but he said this was his favourite and he did enjoy the creative killing. And he says, good to see Star Wars back to killing kids again, which is very dark. But very,
But dude, the something we've never seen before is when Darth Teeth pulls another Jedi from the background onto the saber that he's already stabbed somebody with.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
And
Loved
they were completely ill prepared, those Jedi, weren't they? I mean, I know
Yeah.
you kind of go, oh well, they've never come up against anything like this before ever. They've been settling border disputes and taxation routes. I know that's a prequel thing, but like it's not their wheelhouse to fight someone who fights like that. And Yord actually even says like but he basically says he's not playing by the rules. He's just not playing by the rules of combat, and even kind of inferred that he was inside their heads or doing something to cloud their abilities as well, which was quite fascinating.
That's a theme there. I'm sure we'll talk about it later on, but that's a theme within this episode in particular, and it kind of explains the Magneto helmet in the first place, doesn't it? So,
and the fights. Sorry, mate. You can continue.
No. I don't want to steal your thunder. So.
Oh no. I was just going to say that the fight. There was quite a lot of fighting, and you kind of go, when you're going to get. There's a thing I remember they talk about the idea of battle fatigue. How much fighting can you actually watch before it basically it loses its impact because you're just watching people basically just swinging at each other over and over and over again. But I think in the case of this, they're all sort of very different. It was 5 against 1, 1 versus 2, and then that last fight when it was just Sol and Darth Teeth just punching the crap out of each other, basically. Really just something we've never even really seen in Star Wars at that level, especially not from Jedi Knights, of just going, we're just going to throw down and it's just going to be like They Live, or just some kind of just like, I don't know, just brutal punch downs.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
I was like,
this is a new side of Catherine.
Yeah.
I've never seen before.
She's like, well, it's not Cassian Andor. No one's going to mess up Cassian's face. And this, these people can get a few punches to the face. But let's try to walk through this a little bit, because it does have a lot of stuff does happen, obviously, but it does set up a lot of other things as well. And we start with Osha, who got thrown to the side. She wakes up, she grabs Pip, and then she gets over to the commotion and basically trips over that first dead Jedi. And you kind of go, oh, okay, some of these guys are already gone down. It was kind of interesting that they didn't jump straight back into the fight. It's she walks, has to go back over and find it, which kind of makes sense, I guess, because they're all swinging in the jungle. But I don't know. Did you think, Andy, that it was just the red shirts were going to eat it and that was it? Really?
Yeah, if I'm perfectly honest with you, yeah. I thought that there was so much equity in Yord and in Jecki that there'll be a safe bet to be in season 2 if there's a season 2, or certainly the finale anyway. The fact that they're gone, but I guess it's a little bit like Gilroy's approach for the rewriting of Rogue One. They have to die in order to safeguard the future, or safeguard the canon of the future. But I was gutted, absolutely gutted. It was. I definitely thought the red shirts, who didn't spend we didn't have an awful lot of screen time from them. We certainly didn't have any dialogue from them. I automatically thought, well, they're going to go, aren't they? But yeah, she was. Leslie's being pretty brutal in this episode, and to your point, forget what you think you know.
Yeah, well, Catherine, they, the show, when the first trailers dropped, and there was a whole the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years, blah blah blah. How are they going to know that there's a Jedi, there's seen a Sith, and the Jedi can't do that? And and we spoke about this when we started. It's like, well, don't say anything till you've seen it. Like, it's a major plot point of the show. It's the whole point is like going. He literally is like, well, you see me now, you got to die. So it was, and I'll kill him. Like, if you thought that, oh well, we won't kill him. No one will know about it. If you got to go, you got to go.
You've discovered my plan.
Yeah,
now you must die.
Does it feel like it's like a self-contained? We're going to get a self-contained story that maybe none of these characters are going to make it out.
You kind of think the only character that might make it out might be Darth Teeth, as he's been dubbed, or
May.
one or other of May or Osha, and they become the new apprentice to the master if Darth Teeth is not the master.
Well, is he? What is he? Is he? Well, let's just put it up front. Actually, let's just pivot, Catherine. I think you made the point that it was Chimere. Chimere was the man under the hood, which obviously, seemed like the obvious thing, but made the most sense. The thing is, we analyze this stuff to death. Casual viewers may or may not think that, and probably don't even care. Like, there's probably a million other reasons, but it made sense. It made total sense that it was him. And is he the Sith apprentice? Is he the acolyte? Like, is he a wannabe? Is he the guy? Is he feeding off somebody else's thing? Like, he kind of calls himself a Sith, but is he? Did you hear the Kylo Ren theme? That was a really big thing at the end of the episode. That
really odd.
They played the Kylo Ren theme, which was Kylo Ren is not a Sith. He's basically a dark side wannabe, really. When you put it all down. I don't know.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was actually. Whether he was announcing himself as Sith or not. I don't think he cares about labels, and I think he was just trying to explain to the Jedi what they would think of him. You would call me a Sith.
Yeah.
Maybe
he's talking to the audience. He's like, "Well, you just called me a Sith." He could be literally talking to the audience, going, "Hey, you would call me a Sith because you saw my red light lights." Like, I don't care what you call me, really.
Which makes me think: is he completely devoted to the rule of two, the Sith mantra, the whole law? There will be my binds are broken, etc., etc. All of that. Does he consider, if he doesn't consider himself a Sith, but understands that others would, is he really a Sith? Maybe I'm just looking too deeply into it.
No, it's a good point, because he kind of mocks Sol for the rules, and he's kind of almost like, these are your rules of what you think we should be. And I got into this game to not have any rules or any labels or anything. Like, I'm basically just want to be able to express myself and indulge my my dark side.
Yeah, like if he's one of the two, I would guess he's more the apprentice, but he's almost trying to break the rules, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get himself an acolyte to train. But yeah, you're right in that you would call me a Sith,
Of course you would,
labels.
you simple person.
Yeah. I am so much more than your labels, petty Jedi.
Let me just flick my fringe out of my Let me just flick my fringe out of my eyes.
Yeah.
There's going to be some great celebration cosplays as well, and especially going to an Asian country as well. We're going to see some awesome cosplays at Celebration Japan. I really hope, amazing. I hope some of the Japanese fans really embrace it and do some great stuff. It would be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the fight between Sol and Chimere, which is visceral, but I just love the energy that Manny Chiquito's bringing to the role. It's so different. He's playing it so differently from all the other sort of dastardly dark side users that have been so arch, whereas he's just playing it completely differently.
And he even kind of like when he mocks Osha, he's just like, "Oh, hey," he's just like, "Hey,"
Yeah.
It's like that, it's like, like the bad guy reveal when he's like, who would have thought it would have been like bumbling, character all along, when they sort of like change, take the mask off kind of thing. Really cool.
Referring to a movie and explaining in my mind.
I know. Well, I couldn't think of it either, and I know exactly you're thinking of it. Who would have thought it would be?
Is it Presumed Innocent, the one with Richard Gere?
Is it one with Edward Norton plays the?
Yes.
That's the one I mean. What's it called though?
God, it's so good though. That is such a good movie. Like, the first time you see it, you're just like, oh my God.
Primal fear.
Bruh.
Yes.
Primal fear. He's been our primal fear moment. That could have been a spoiler to that context. You could have put that up there. Nobody would have got that reference. Also, a really funny thing that I saw, or I noticed when I did my Leonardo point to the camera thing was, remember when some of the promo stills came out? And I don't know if this applies to everything. And there was the shot of Jackie with the lightsabers, or it might have been from the clip from one of the TV spots. And people were like, "What's like? Look at how big and stupid those lightsaber hilts look. Look how big and fat they are." It was Kalnaka's lightsaber. That's why it was big and fat, because she was holding a Wookiee's lightsaber.
Yeah.
I thought that, because that is, you look at the photos like, oh yeah, it does look like she's holding like a great big, like a water bottle. She's swinging a water bottle around. Makes perfect sense now. Never put two and two together that, of course, a Wookiee would have a bigger lightsaber because he's got a big, fat, hairy paw.
She's got a small hand. He has a very big hand. So, yes, he needs a bigger lightsaber. That's why I can't go for the big iPhones, because my hands cannot hold them.
There you go.
Before we go, sorry, I hate to go backwards a little bit, but
Go do it.
Before we know for sure that it's Chimere, or I don't know how you pronounce it, I did start getting excited when I think it was Osha that was saying,
my mum knows how to control minds. Was it that?
My mum knows you had to, because last week with Sean, we kind of came to this mutual idea that actually this wasn't Sith, and it was one of the mothers. And I thought, yes, I've got a theory right. And then I was completely blown away, like within seconds. But the very hint of it, the very hint of her thinking it was a similar ability to her mother's, got me really excited. Only to be dashed against the rocks.
I think she's still in play.
Anyway.
I think Mother Zabrak, with the horns, is absolutely in play. And I think that she might have even guided Osha to Chimere. Maybe not on purpose. Maybe not for her knowing. May. Guide May to her. That whether it's, just by manipulating her from afar, but put her in that position to, train under him, and then eventually, when she's ready to embrace the dark side.
Yeah.
The final episode of the season, Chimere goes to meet his master. He kneels. The chair turns round, and it's Zabrak Lady is his master. Oh, how cool would that be as an ending?
But then she kills Darth Teeth after that, because he's not playing by the rules or something. I don't know. I don't know. I still think she's in play. I think the witch connection is really strong, and I think they've also done more alluding to what, obviously Sol knows more about what happened on that Covenant than he's letting on, and it was quite interesting because it was sort of like Chimere knew more about it as well. So I don't know whether he's heard it from Osha or somewhere else, May.
But there's also a familiarity. There's also Sol recognizes something familiar about him.
Well, I wasn't sure whether that was just because they were in his vicinity when they
could be.
When they were doing the stakeout. But he was only ever on the. He was never on the balcony. I'd have to go back and have a look and see where everybody was. But was that enough?
No, Sol went into the shop and had the conversation with Chimere when, and how Yord was behind Chimere, and Chimere was like, "Oh, I thought he was with you."
That's true.
And they had that whole conversation. So they could be alluding to that. They could be alluding to something else.
Yep.
But both explanations satisfy that line.
Yeah. I was trying to work out the geography of it, but he was sort of, when he was kind of going, because he was sort of says, what kind of a master doesn't show his apprentice his face? And he's just like, well, what about you? Like you haven't shown who you really are, basically.
Yeah.
Which was quite like, ooh, he knows more. But again, he could have literally got that from May, and got the info.
You're right. He definitely knows more than possibly even May has said, or maybe he was there. Who knows?
If he's gone to the trouble of
knows.
keeping Osha alive at the end and seemingly going, well, I'm going to potentially take you under my wing now. The other one's gone. I'm going to have work on this one. He's going to basically try to tell her something that's going to get her on side. So
yeah,
it's we do the swappy swap. We do the Parent Trap swap. Big week, as I tweeted, big week for identical twins this week in TV. If anybody watched House of the Dragon this week, they're having a week. What are the chances, really? You think people like the people who House of the Dragon watch this or even the Acolyte went, we got a couple of identical twins duking it out, and the two, arguably two of the biggest TV shows on at the moment.
Well, what's funny is that on House of the Dragon, it was the moment it was suggested, you're like, oh, this is a bad idea. Like, no, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And in this, it's a bit the same, because May does have a very distinctive thing that is different from Osha, the big tattoo on her forehead.
Well, I think Pip is the thing, Pip and Basil, because he's got the Pip scent.
Yeah.
So he's just going, well, that smells like May, and you don't smell like Osha, or you smell like May. So I think that's when that happens, or if does it happen on the ship? I don't know. Is Sol going to make it to the end?
I'm struggling to understand May's motives at the moment, because she spent pretty much 3/4 of the half an hour that we had. Let's call it half an hour. I still don't know what it was, but she spent 3/4 of the episode running away. Even when her own sister was being, was in danger, she spent the entire 3/4 of the episode running away. And then she had the confrontation with Osha, and now she's disguising herself as Osha, and yet only last episode she was happy to hand herself into the Jedi. So while we saw the heel turn last week, I'm now wondering, was that actually a real heel turn? Because she's on the ship.
Yeah, I think she
through distraction and she's not there, genuinely as May. It's weird.
No, she's. I think she's just prioritizing her own survival now. Basically, she's just like, well, the Jedi are after me. I considered turning myself in for a minute, but as soon as I think Darth Teeth turned up, and he's mad that he tried to kill her numerous times. It seems like Osha's not on board, so I'm going to poison her to get off planet. I think her only motivation is to get off planet. I think when that ship lands, she's like, I'm out of here. But I don't know. Maybe unless it's also like, well, here's my chance to kill Master Sol. I'm mad again because my sister's not on board. I'm flipping, I'm flopping. I don't know.
Why not both?
Yeah, I think it's really just whatever. I think she's really only cares about her own survival at the moment.
The question is, does Sol know or suspect already? Because it's interesting when May comes back dressed as Osha, and Sol is waking up. He looks at her and says, where's your sister? He doesn't say the name. He says, your sister. And there's a pause before he says, your sister. So it's a bit of, does he know? Does he suspect? And
I quite like that. I just sort of thought it was at least to show that he was still concerned about both the girl. You know what I mean? That wasn't like, all right, let's get out of here. It was, where is she? Is she still alive? Let's see if we can get her off this rock and get out of here. I felt bad that all those poor dead Jedi just got left there.
Yeah.
I assume they're trying to just get to safety, and they'll go back and they'll tidy up or whatever they're going to do. But yeah, I like
that answer, Catherine, because one of the questions I had that I wrote down was, why can't Sol sense May? Why can't he sense that it's her instead of Osha? Especially when Darth Teeth himself says, "I'm wearing this helmet because I don't want you guys reading my mind."
That was
So
a nice
I
little
like that explanation.
That was a nice. Now, there's some people. I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter today or not. Great place.
Nope.
But there was a few people who said that there was a deep EU cut of the metal that helmet was made of. That basically was this strong conductive metal that could short out lightsabers and blah blah blah, and that's what it was made of. So which was the reason why the lightsabers were kind of deactivating and doing all this kind of stuff. And I don't know if in canon in inverted commas, that it could block force reading and things. But I like that. Like you said before, Andy, it was the Magneto helmet, wasn't it? It was literally like, keep out of my head. And it seems to be a recurring theme of like getting in people's heads.
Well, I thought the aesthetic looked really cool, but really weird. In that we talked about last week that he has a very, very slight frame, and this
got some guns on him though.
Almost Funko type of helmet on his head, which didn't seem quite right. But now there's an explanation to that. Then that's fine. I mean, if anyone's complaining about the metal, I mean, we already have Kyber, not Kyber. Sorry,
Beskar.
Mandalorian. Beskar, which can already repel lightsaber blows. So why not have something that can disrupt it as well, or diffuse it as well?
And it was a cool little, just something we'd never seen. That it would short out, it would come on. I mean, Jackie, that little grin that she does when she sort of gets the thing and it ignites, and she's just like, "Yeah, baby, 2 lightsabers." I mean, yeah, I'm really surprised that they killed Jackie off. She had some great moments there. She nearly brought Maine in on her own. She did. She kind of got her. Should have probably tied her up a little bit better, tied her feet or something. But anyway, there was a lot going on.
People have survived. They have survived.
Well, I don't know. Like, is it? Can we?
3.
Can we?
Yeah. Two lungs and a tummy.
Can we?
Yeah.
Can we?
Look, tummy, yes, you'd survive tummy, but the chest area is probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would you be mad if they came back next week and they come back and she's dragged herself to Kanaka's hut and backed it herself up and she's okay? I mean, yours not coming back from that, but I don't know. Is it? Would you feel cheated, or would you just be like, nah, she's back? But I know it's Star Wars. I just don't think it's that kind of. I know that Reva took one to the guts. Cobb Vanth took one to the guts.
One.
Yeah, I know.
Not 3.
I know. I'm sure it's a direct reaction of like, we don't even want you to speculate. She's gone. Oh God! And then he's just like, "Is that what you call it?" I'm like, "Oh man, bad dude."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he sort of says, "Oh, she's just a kid." He's like, "Hey, dude, you brought her here. I don't make the rules."
Yep, I've got to kill all the witnesses. That's it.
Did he?
And
need
as
to,
much as I don't want to admit it, I think Jackie and Yord are not to be seen again, and that's very, very sad because I noticed in our look at Yord's body, his eyes were open, and that's not a good sign.
Is that the most brutal death in Star Wars? Has anybody copped it worse than that on screen than Yord did? Can you think of anyone? I mean, I know the Emperor got thrown down the Emperor got thrown down a minejet, didn't die anyway, really, as it turns out. Yeah. You may not have heard. But, I mean, Jabba got strangled. He's a big puppet. It's not quite as graphic. I can't really think of anybody who... It's not a very Star Warsy death.
No, it's by somebody's own hands. It's up front and personal. It's really gnarly. Really, really gnarly. It's
it was confronting, wasn't it? It was really just like, yeah, okay, we're doing this.
But this is the great thing, and I'm sorry to repeat what you're saying about what Yord said earlier on, which was he's not playing by the rules. I mean, he was obviously adept at a lightsaber. I mean, geez, we saw some amazing stuff there. And he had a little gimmick of another lightsaber being hidden in the hilt as well, which I thought was was pretty cool. But also the what am I trying to say? Sorry, the fact that he's, to your point, using his bare hands, he does not care how he kills.
No. And Yord, who's a guy who's a stickler for the rules, he didn't have a chance. He's like, oh, when I make a something stance with a something blow, you will counter with a something and a something blow, and that's how it's done. And he's just like, nah, dog, I'm just gonna snap your neck.
Well, it's like the old days of the Battle of Trafalgar and other types of war play. You had rules. To your point, you had rules. You had each army will walk straight into each other and have a bit of a brawl. The introduction of tanks in World War One changed the rules. It was a very different way of doing things. You don't wait until morning to make your way down to the battlefield to have your fight, and whoever the last man standing is the winner.
Yeah, all right,
it's
gentlemen, gloves off.
The idea of subterfuge and the rest of it. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I love it.
And yet Yord could improvise because he improvised with the helmet. That was a good move, but unfortunately, in the end...
And the first time he probably disobeyed an order in his life.
Yep.
He went back and... Yeah. It was... I was very surprised. I was very surprised. It just feels gone too soon. It really just feels like those two gone too soon. It's just, I know Star Wars characters live on with less time and do less on screen but I guess we've just got to look forward to the Young Jackie Adventures, comic book and young adult novel and those sort of things that we're going to get, because we're going to have to enjoy these characters outside the screen unless something miraculous happens. But I
mean, her fighting was out of this world. The physicality that young actress,
that's Weapon X, right? There. Wasn't it X-23 or whatever, And people kind of go, Daphne Keane. It's interesting, because she was quite placid and she's just very, very sort of, she had a little bit of spunk and stuff. And you go, wow, you cast, Daphne Keane, and she's, you think about the roles that she's played, and she brought it. When it was time to bring it.
Yeah.
It was brung.
It was brung. So. I feel like I know we're talking around in circles because there is just so much of this to sort of go on to, but it does sort of open these questions up. And Sol's sort of the last man standing now. He's got to go back. I assume he's going back to Coruscant and just say, hey, like, this is what's happened. What is the show from here? Is it you're not actually going to make it to Coruscant, Sol? We're not. I mean, like, are you going to call this in? Does he believe it's a Sith? Does he? I kind of feel like I'm not really quite sure where this is going to go.
No idea. And that's great.
I guess it is great. And it's not even... I honestly, last week we were so adamant we'd licked it. But it came down to our speculation. It's like, no, you really didn't, boys. You really, really didn't. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that there's really no point in speculating. I guess there's... two things that need to be, in my mind, that have been actually one thing that's been consistent all the way through this. We need to find out what happened 16 years ago.
Yep.
We still have massive holes there. And there is a suggestion today that potentially the Jedi may well have influenced Osha to such a point where she's forgotten the facts or been forced to forget the facts as to what happened, or maybe didn't witness the facts of what actually happened. So that seems to be the consistent, I don't think it's a MacGuffin, but you know what I mean? The thing that needs to be cleared up. I thought that we'd wait a while, certainly beyond today, to find out who the Master Assassin or the Sith Lord is, if we're going to call Darth Thief that. However, that begs... What that's done is, while it was a little bit disappointing because we kind of guessed it and we thought, we poo-pooed it because we thought it was a little bit too obvious. What it does open the question is that, well, hang on a second, how does he know Sol and how does Sol know him?
Yeah,
what is there? That's a new question that's been opened today, which I think is fascinating and almost balances out the disappointment or of the predictable outcome of today.
And what's his what does he want an acolyte for? Or what's his bigger plan? And what does him exposing himself mean? Does he just go back to being sort of like, oh hi, and that's it? Or it's like his face is kind of out there now, I guess. So does he have to finish the job?
See himself as Sith, especially if he doesn't see himself as Sith. He's just a bad dude that has given himself a label because that's what the Jedi would call him. It seems I can't answer the question, mate, because I really don't know.
He's the Joker. He just does things.
And is he under?
Sorry,
yeah,
that was
is he
my
going?
Heath Ledger Joker.
Yeah, but is he rogue? Is he like you said? Is he part of a structure? Is he just a bad dude who's gotten good at embracing his dark side, and that's enough? Yeah, and what does that mean for the other characters? Because it does feel like that's the the whole sort of thing of like, oh, nobody can know who he is. Like that's the sticking point of the plot now. Yeah. It's literally like this mystery of offing the Jedi was the sort of the start of this, and now it's about sort of concealing this. It's about sort of concealing a different secret. And how does that? And I feel like it's all just going to tie into this. One of the when we talked about Ahsoka, and we were doing the Ahsoka recaps and things, and one of the biggest bugbears I had with it was bringing Anakin into the story, but not really having him have any relevance to what was going on, at least in the first series, as far as like the relationship with Baylan, which I thought was a big missed opportunity. And even we know that there was a relationship with Ahsoka, but it didn't really play into the overall plot. I feel like everything is playing into something bigger that's going on. The Covenant stuff now with Darth Teeth, his relationship to their master. How is Sol involved in this? What did he do? What did he know? What do these other Jedi know? And how does it all? And what does it mean for Osha and May? Are they just pawns in this, or are they going to be the last two standing, or one standing, or?
Well, my thought is that Camille just wants chaos, because in chaos, darkness can grow and spread, and his power can grow, because the Jedi aren't looking. The Jedi are looking somewhere else. But
he kind of said he had his hand forced to come out, though. It was really when May faltered. He was like, oh, well, she's threatened to basically turn me in, so I've got to finish the job.
Kill all the witnesses.
So he wasn't really planning on stirring the pot. That's why I'm kind of going, well, he's obviously got a problem with the Jedi, but I think he was preferring to, whatever he was planning on doing, he wanted to have an apprentice in order to do it. And now he's kind of like, well, I've lost my apprentice. So,
but he was happy for May to go around killing those 4 Jedi because it did sow a bit of chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. So is it?
Look at Sidious. I mean, ultimately, he had 2 opposing sides of the galaxy fighting against each other so that he could prosper in that fertile environment for himself. So that would ring true.
We talked about how in the first episode where he's talking about how you can't kill the Jedi with a weapon, and what does that mean? Well, it's like, well, you can obviously kill a Jedi with a weapon, but as far as the Jedi Order, and it's always that thing of the Jedi being its own plural, that it's an idea, it's an idealism. You can't, you got to destroy the whole idea of the organization and the foundation that it sits upon, its reputation. So is this a means to an end of whatever he's got up his sleeve, whatever he's planning on doing, which is why I think it still ties into what happened on that Covenant, because it's based, if it's scandalous and it can destroy a reputation, how does he weaponize that basically? And does he have to accelerate his plan? Maybe it's kind of going, well, I've actually got to accelerate this plan now because I'm kind of out in the open a little bit. And again, it's like, it feels like Sol's just one phone call away from just, telling people what was going on.
Well, at some point, we have still got some stuff that and I got to be careful what I say this week, so I don't want to do it to Catherine again. But there is some stuff. I have
seen the Venestra.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, cool. There is some stuff still left in the trailer that we haven't seen yet, and it's like,
is she on that planet, or we don't really know? Is she on the
Or is it-
Kanaka
or is it-
planet?
or is it part of a flashback? Is what we see in the trailer with her and the whippy whip? Is that in the past as well? I don't know, but we haven't seen it yet anyway.
I didn't even think of that. That's actually a really good point. Is there another? Yeah, is there a second shooter? Is there someone behind the grassy knoll, as they would say? Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if she went back because they have to go collect all the Jedi bodies. But I can't imagine that Chimera is hanging around there. But again, at the same time, it sort of feels like if Sol makes it back and he says somebody with a red lightsaber who called himself a Sith, whether he was or he wasn't, took out everybody except for me. You feel like that would be an upstairs problem. It's that goes to the boardroom, and they've been trying to keep this thing under wraps, but it feels like things have escalated pretty quick.
Yeah.
And Kiadi just so happened to not be at work that day.
Yeah.
To hear that,
he's just called in.
He's day off.
They just cut to him, and he's
Kiadi.
just he's slept through his alarm.
He's come down with a terrible flu.
Yeah.
He's off today. Yeah.
They've got to keep really what happened on the quiet. No matter what story they come up with, they've got to keep it fairly quiet, fairly low key. I asked this on another little chat today, but I'll ask you, Andy. You might have another opinion. How does Yoda know the rule of two? In The Phantom Menace, Yoda says, always two there are, the master and the apprentice. Now, does that rule come in prior to like the Sith Jedi War? And because after that, that's when the Sith sort of start to hide and the Jedi and Sith don't have any interaction.
Well, it was
as
Bane.
far as I know.
It was Bane that brought it in, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was Bane that brought in he was the one that kind of created the event. I can't remember how he did it. It was basically some sort of he blew up a mountain which took out all the Jedi and the Sith at the same time. He saw that the Sith were fighting a mountain. God, it's been years since I've read this. And then from that he created the rule of two, which meant that there was only two people, one to yield it, one to covet it.
Was
how Yoda got to know that?
Is he actually talking about the rule of two, or is he just talking about if you see a warrior, there's always a master and there's always an apprentice? So it's really just tying it back. I know he says always two there are. There's no, but is he just talking about? I know because I think he says there's no doubt that the thing was a Sith, but he goes, well, there's always two. There's always a master and apprentice. So is he just talking about in a warrior, whether you're a Jedi or whether you're either a master or you're an apprentice? Every apprentice has a master. Every master has an apprentice. So there's always like someone teaching someone, regardless whether it's the rule or not, in regards to just how that thing is done. Potentially, I don't know. It could be. He could be. Yoda knows a lot of things. They could have been questioning somebody.
Do you know what? If you stick into Google search, how did Yoda? It actually fills it out for you. Know about the rule of two, and the answer doesn't make sense.
Well, it's AI.
So it says here,
Yoda ate rocks and
yeah. It says here Yoda discovered the rule of two in Star Wars: The Clone Wars Season 6 episode Sacrifice, when he travelled to Morabun and spoke to the spirit of Darth Bane. Now I remember that, but what you're talking about was
in
a
the
comment
Phantom
he
Menace
made during the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So this doesn't make sense.
So I guess you could pass off and say he's just talking about warriors in general, how that someone has to teach someone, so there's always two of them. That would be my Dave Filoni get out of jail answer if I needed to. But a good question, Catherine. And how does it relate to this?
Well, if Sol comes back alive to pass on the information,
I know now it's just like you're kind of going all the stars of stage and screen and our favorite characters, and now it's just like, geez, I hope Sol makes it to the end of the episode.
He might quietly, or at least, tell Vern or someone privately of this is crazy what I've just seen. And by the way, that's not Osha, that's May. And
keep it here. We want to see what she does, though.
Yeah. So, they might be trying to keep it secret and between the two of them, that's where the sort of cover up comes in. Maybe Vern will come back, or Vernestra will come back and say, well, I've just been speaking to Master Yoda and this is what we're going to do.
So May and Osha are the linchpin of this series. So everything revolves around them and their their relationship one way or the other. So however this plays out, they're effectively swap places at the moment. One of them, we don't know how much their current masters that they're with know. Because I feel like Sol's in the dark at least at the moment, but I think he's going to find out pretty quick. I think Basil's going to bust him. If he doesn't know already, Basil's going to bust him pretty quick. So what does that look like? But Darth Teeth looks like he's looking for a replacement. But is it? I don't know. I kind of thought they were almost about to team up, but it seems like they're still pretty on opposing sides here. I don't want them too interchangeable. I know that you're kind of going, oh well, one can slip to the light and one can slip to the dark, and I kind of like that they still have distinct personalities. If the more that May sort of slipped to the light, it was kind of harder for her to. I felt like she lost a bit of her identity a little bit, but maybe that just made her less one-dimensional. I don't know.
I like your idea of the mother's not, or at least one of them. I've forgotten her name. Sorry, Zabrak mother. I like your idea that her still being on the board, and if she's still on the board, then that may well be the unifying aspect of both Osha and May to bring them back. To ignore of this infighting within the Jedi. Sorry, the corrupt Jedi, and obviously the Sith as well, and just go back to rebuilding their order or their coven. But yeah, I'm with you. If we keep seeing a lot of flip floppy, I guess it depends on what actually happened. I've spoken to people in the last couple of weeks, yourselves included, that think that the Jedi did something so bad 16 years ago that, quite frankly, it's the pivot of everything. And at the same time, I've also spoken to other folk that have the belief that what actually happened 16 years ago wasn't what happened 16 years ago, and it was something very, very different that is being perverse to influence, well, initially May and maybe now Osha.
I tend to agree with that. I tend to agree with that, and especially if Mother Zabrak is on the board still. If she used this of like, well, these Jedi are coming, I'm gonna, we're all stuffed here. I'm gonna take the girls and run, and maybe got out of hand, or I'm not too sure. If she is the master, and this is all part of the plan to discredit the Jedi, to set this thing in motion. Potentially, especially if you can create a scandal and get rid of the witnesses who are really there. Yeah. Potentially, but I don't know. I still feel like, the accusations that the show is anti-Jedi and all that kind of stuff, I think is nonsense. I think that the Jedi have their flaws, but I don't think they're just walking into somewhere and just cutting people down for the hell of it. That's not, and Leslie Headland knows that. Like, to think that she doesn't, it's just ridiculous to even suggest that. They are still trying to uphold a belief in the galaxy, and like all organizations are not going to quite get it right, or they stick to the rules too much. But I think this is a situation where they're manipulated because they're probably predictable and they know how they're going to react in situations. So you put them in a situation where you know that they're going to react a certain way. You either frame them or you make things look worse for them, and then you manipulate the people around them. Like, it's pretty classic bad guy kind of vibes, really. So, we've already sort of spoken about the expectation of what people had of this show already. And I think it's been proving time and time again that don't believe everything you read and don't believe everything that you think is going to happen, because it ain't going to happen like that. So I think we've got a long ways to go. The idea of a season 2 is quite intriguing. I feel like, after this episode, it feels like season 2 could be 50 years in the future. It could have none of these characters. It could just take us closer to those Phantom Menace. It could be another story of another apprentice. It could even be, the end of this. Yeah, I don't know.
They could do what they could do what they've done with the High Republic franchise and take it back take it back 100 years, 200 years, and then go forward another 100 years, 200 years. So it's after, it's after the Skywalker lineage.
Yep.
If there is a sequel, one of the things that I've really enjoyed by this is the relative low risk aspect to it, which is the reason why I don't understand an awful lot of the upset on social media and choose to stay away from it now. Is that it's low risk, it's something new, it doesn't impact, shall we say, canon, but obviously folk are just picking the smallest thing to suggest that Disney's ruining canon. So I don't really understand that, but the different directions this can take us, I think, is really, really exciting. And if there was a sequel, I'd like to either to be relatively close to this season, or indeed a completely different time frame. The idea of being a little bit closer to the Phantom Menace, it may well placate some people that want to see it having a more connective tissue to the Skywalker saga. But for me, that wouldn't be my preferred choice.
Yeah. Catherine, does it feel like it's going to tie up in a neat little bow at the end of this? I think you're going to I feel like it's going to end. You're going to have a bit of a bad feeling in your tummy when it ends. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of going to go, oh, they're just sleepwalking into something, or.
Yeah, like I don't think we're really there to see that real start of the downfall hubris of the Jedi. Like they're still wearing their nice fancy robes. The temple is still humming and a busy place. And you think in 100 years at the Phantom Menace, the temple's not very busy. Let's face it, there's not that many people around. There's a lot of empty corridors. They don't wear those really nice robes anymore. They wear far plainer, like there's not battle robes, but all far plainer. So something happens, and I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of why that is. I wouldn't want to go 50 years because I think we're then getting a bit close, the Phantom Menace, but a little time jump maybe to a season 2 of maybe seeing the next generation of Sith or something, or to see some kind of the impact of the events of this. What's happened to the Jedi because of that. What changes were made because of that, and maybe then we can start to have that more connective. Oh, now I can, like we've got. I'm drawing a graph of that point there, and that point there of the Phantom Menace. Can we get one more dot point to join up our line to make a nice gradient so we can see that downfall?
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't actually. I mean, they didn't. I mean, I wasn't expecting this episode, but how May and Osha, what is their deal? How were they created in inverted commas? What was the actual thing that sort of kicked it off? I know we're wrapping up soon, but I feel like that's kind of got some weight to it as well, which I think it ties in
about that.
Mother Zabrak as well.
I think about that. Yeah, I forgot about that. Don't forget. They were manufactured. It wasn't a natural pregnancy. It was. Don't they call
a manipulation?
Don't they call them an abomination at some point?
I think they said they might consider them an abomination.
Exactly. If they were to learn how they were created. Yeah. So that's really interesting. I hope they don't leave that as a loose end, that they don't tie up, because.
No, I feel like it'll tie into it.
Really exciting.
Which I still think it's potentially the reason they were sent there, is that they knew that they'd done something, and that's why there's such an interest in these kids and why. But I don't know.
Don't forget. Sorry. Don't forget as well. Within 30 years of the Return of the Jedi themselves have become myth. They've become legends. Rey herself said, "I thought they were children's stories. I thought they were myth." with Han saying, no, it's true, all of it. Jedi, the Sith, the Force, yeah, etc., etc. So there's no reason why what we're seeing at the moment is forgotten about very, very quickly within 30 or 40 years. So there's no risk, I don't think.
No, and that was the beauty of
still tell a compelling story.
When we kicked off this sort of preview and talked about what we were looking forward to, it was just that we've got a clean slate. We're not beholden to anything. They've actually dropped. Kiadi is probably the only connective tissue so far to anything else, which is basically insignificant. But he's there as we said last week, they've purposely put him there to prove their point. Whatever point that they're trying to make, they're going to use him as the foil to prove that point, just because of the way that he is and the things that he says in the later films. But
because he was there in the Phantom Menace to be wrong.
Yeah.
And he was there in all the other movies to be wrong. Yeah. He's there in the Acolyte to be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this case, we talked about all bets are off. And we saw this tonight. They cut through beloved characters. They spent 4 episodes, 3 episodes really, because one was a flashback to just build up these characters that people have really taken to. And they just said, you know what? Sorry, guys. We're going to keep now. We're leaving you hanging. No one is safe. All bets are off. So I, for one, can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
It's funny, isn't it? You were talking about House of the Dragon earlier on. It's the most Game of Thrones Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, there was some comments of being like the Red Wedding.
You get yourself attached to a character. There's no point because it could be gone next week.
Which isn't a very Star Warsy thing to do, really. They find ways to absolutely milk characters, to bring them back from the dead or fill their lives in with books or give them cameos and do this. And Yord and Jackie will live on T-shirts and, like I said, in young adult novels and comic books and things, I'm sure, in the future. But it'll always sort of end with, and they met their sticky end on that planet. Brutally.
Love it.
So we'll wrap it up there, guys. We could talk around for ages, but I think we're just going to have to sit back and enjoy the ride. So going forward, I am actually, and I know Catherine, you can sympathise with this or get excited. I'm on holiday for the next 2 weeks from this, but the podcast will go on. I will be taking all my gear, or my laptop and my microphone, to Queensland, but I'll be in the sun. So hopefully I'll be podcasting by the pool or whatever like that. So the plan is that the schedule won't change. I know, Andy, you may be away for a few episodes because you're going away as well, but we'll hopefully have enough hands on any given time. So we ain't going nowhere. We're just going to be a little bit more relaxed about it because we'll be on holiday.
Now, before we end, do you want to explain yourself, Josh Chapman? What did you say? You claimed on Twitter, I don't think there's been a more thrilling episode of Star Wars TV than tonight's episode of The Acolyte. And yes, I'm including the return of Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And my response was simply, Andor episode 10.
Is that the prison break episode?
That's one way out, my friend.
I think that's...
Do you want me to leave?
No. I very purposely used your word thrilling because I was thrilled through this. I think that Andor episode is a better episode of TV. I didn't say better or the best, but this was thrilling, and I love that Luke Skywalker episode. But to be honest, it's only the last 10 minutes of that episode is actually very good. The first 20 minutes is pretty, not much goes on. But I just was shocked. Loved the choreography. I loved the design. They gave me characters that I really connected to, and they took them away. They've just left it in a really interesting place. So I stand by it. I will get into a Twitter beef with you if I have to, Catherine, just for something new. Star Wars fans turning on each other on Twitter.
No, I'll accept your justification.
Yes, throw myself to the mercy of the court. Yeah, don't snap my neck, please. Andy, just chilling, kicking along. New episode just dropped the other day, I saw.
Yeah. We were a little bit late last week because Sean's been out and about again, travelling the length and breadth of the US. So we caught up again on Sunday. Should be back to normal service today. We're recording tonight, and had a chance to catch up with our buddy Rick Villanueva again last week, which is only a week or so after he joined our pod, which was good fun. I love that guy. He's huge amount of knowledge that guy's got.
I know.
Yeah,
super dude.
But yeah, no,
I'm about halfway through that episode.
Excellent.
Sorry.
And Catherine, you're holiday Catherine in a couple of days, so we're going to see some Geek Pods coming through. And you got a time, or we're just going to play it by ear, see how you feel.
I'll a bit of that, but I should have some time, a bit more flexibility, so I should reach out. This is the thing, obviously, with, as you know, being in Australia, we're opposite times to just about everybody. So, working a 9 to 5 job makes it, when you can't carve out some time during the day, does make it a bit tricky to schedule stuff. So I'll reach out to some people to see if, can do some stuff while I'm on break. Yes.
Absolutely. And very quickly, I know we're trying to wrap up here, but I must quickly just put a little timestamp. Diego Luna's doing cons, doing photo ops.
An hour 5 until we talked about this. Oh my God. Doing cons, he's doing autographs, he's doing pictures. Oh my, so.
Do we need to put another hour aside here at the end?
Okay, so the probability of him appearing and doing those things at Japan Celebration, because he's come to the last couple of celebrations but not done those things. He's not done signatures, not done photos. So, what are the chances? I don't know. If it happens though, I'm sorry to all my friends, but you are going to have to physically carry me through the line, because I'm going to be just a complete and utter mess to accomplish this goal.
We'll do it. We'll carry you.
A million views on TikTok. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think there's a very good chance that Andor Season 2 will drop right when Celebration Japan is on, if not first episode at Celebration Japan. I would not be surprised in the slightest. That sort of feels like it's around the same time, but we'll see. We've got plenty of time for Andor talk as we go. But thanks, guys. Smaller crew this week, but always good to get us. Everyone gets a proper talk when we've got a smaller crew. But I mean, they all work quite well. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh.
See you soon.
Goodbye, Yord.
Bye, Yord. Bye, Jackie. Bye.
Take care.